Welcome to Dark Knight Films Reviews and another Versus Night. Tonight, I will be comparing Invasion of the Body Snatchers from 1956 versus Invasion of the Body Snatchers from 1978. So, let's get started with the leads. Invasion of the Body Snatchers 1956 stars Kevin McCarthy and Dana Winter. Invasion of the Body Snatchers 1978 stars Donald Sutherland and Brooke Adams. Alright, so to me, the 56 version's characters are quite a bit more interesting to me. Kevin McCarthy is introduced in the present time period where he has already witnessed this invasion and is trying to warn people about it. And then it goes into flashbacks, letting us know what happened and how he came about with knowing about this. And the performance of Kevin McCarthy in this and his girlfriend character of Dana Winter are very realistic and really natural in their performance. Donald Sutherland in the 78 version he's portraying this character. He's not even a doctor like Kevin McCarthy's character is. He works for the Food Inspection Agency or some shit, and his first scene witnesses him checking this soup and picking out with a pair of tweezers or something what he says is a rat turd. Wish I was joking with that. This literally did happen in this movie. And he reuses that line again when he's talking to Brooke Adams later. Now, Brooke Adams is perfectly serviceable earlier in the film when she's basically playing sort of the Kevin McCarthy role, and she's the one who is, seeing these strange things going on and starting to try and accept them. But her character is, much like Donald Sutherland, is not a very exciting character. She is quite boring. And Donald Sutherland's character is more of a weird and strange acting character from the get-go. So, I'm going to have to go with the 56 version on this one. I think Kevin McCarthy and Dana Winter did a much better job as the leads in the original film. Alright, so let's move on to supporting. Supporting cast in the 56 version includes King Donovan, Caroline Jones, Larry Gates, Virginia Christine, Gene Wills, Whit Bissell, and Sam Peckinpah. Supporting cast on the 78 version is Jeff Goldblum, Veronica Cartwright, Leonard Nimoy, Art Hindle, Leila Goldini, Kevin McCarthy, and Robert Duvall. Now, the cast in the supporting for Invasion of the Body Snatchers 1956 is probably one of the weaker aspects of it. King Donovan is not very interesting in his role in there, even though he is a major character before he gets turned into a pod person later in the film. Whereas his girlfriend is played by Caroline Jones, and that should have been a big person that made an impact in this film, but she hardly has any screen time in this thing, unfortunately. And she gets turned into a pod person completely off camera, and we never even see her as a pod person. We just hear King Donovan's character talking to Kevin McCarthy and telling him, that she's one of us now, and everything it is. And, whereas at least with Virginia Christine and Gene Wills, they actually show them kind of converted into pod people later. And their performances are pretty good, those two. Those two are great in there.
Becky's still at his house.
And then you have Whit Bissell, who's, basically just opens the film talking to Kevin McCarthy's character at the beginning and then bookends it at the end when he actually... well, I'll get to that in the story part, but yeah, his role is pretty, he's good in what he's given, but and then you get this short cameo by before he was a great director, Sam Peckinpah. Whereas the 78 version, you have Jeff Goldblum, who probably gives one of the best performances in the film, even though he's played really quirky and goofy like Donald Sutherland as well. But I think Jeff Goldblum comes off better than what Donald Sutherland did in his performance. Veronica Cartwright, she just... in Alien, in the character she played in that, she annoyed the hell out of me. I could not stand her character in that. In this, she starts off that way, but then as the movie progresses, she learns that, to blend in with the pod people, she needs to just act like she has no emotion and just, to blend in. And that's how she sneaks around and gets by them and everything without them turning her. And that was when she was the most interesting, was when she did that stuff in this. Leonard Nimoy, he's basically wasted in this film. He starts off a pod person basically from the start. His character is never himself. You can tell that his character basically from the start is, from when we meet him at least, has already been taken over. And Art Hindle, who I love in Porky's. His character he plays in Porky's is cool. But in this, he is just... he's pretty good in the opening points where he gets to be his character, but he is the first one to get turned into a pod person. So after that, he's just walking around just bland and boring, and he's just not interesting at all anymore because of that. Leila Goldini makes a small little appearance here in there, and she doesn't do much. Kevin McCarthy is the biggest travesty of this film because they bring him in basically redoing some of what he did in the ending of the 56 version. And then he runs off away from the vehicle that Donald Sutherland and Brooke Adams are in. And then the next time we see him, we find out, oh, he got hit by a car. He's dead. They killed him. It's like, way to disrespect someone like that. You know, I mean, you could have had that fun little thing in there where he's warning them and then runs off and you never see him again, you know. But no, you had to just throw that in there. Yeah, we just killed your main hero from the 56 version. That's a big fuck you to you. That pissed me off when that happened. And then the big cameo in this one was an unspeaking role of Robert Duvall swinging in a swing as a priest. I guess it's implied he's already become a pod person too, because he's just sitting there just blank with no emotion, just swinging on this swing. But it was a waste of a great actor there. But comparing the supporting, even though I still do not like how some of it is done in the 78 version, I think the cast in the 78 version is a highly superior cast overall, even though some of them don't do as good at performances as they could have. So this one I am going to give to the 78 version. All right, now let's move on to story. All right, so story in the 56 version, it has a really effective build-up. I mean, you get that intro with Kevin McCarthy where he meets Whit Bissell's character and he starts telling the story. And then you get everything thrown into there, you know, where he is there and he's trying to figure this out. He keeps finding out that, you know, patients came to see him and wanted to see him, seemed to be important to the people. And then all of a sudden, then he'd talk to them on the streets and be like, well, I thought you wanted to, if you need to still make an appointment, you can come in to see me anytime. And, never mind. It's not important anymore. Because they've already been taken over by pod people. So what they were maybe trying to tell him was something about, you know, something that they had some odd things going on, but they couldn't tell him because they got taken over already, you know, before they got to see him and everything. And whenever he talked to them, he was talking to the pod people. So when he finally starts figuring it out and the other characters keep trying to tell him that have already been turned into pod people, keep telling him that, you know, you're a doctor, you ought to understand this stuff, you know, you know, this is this, you know, because that's the difference between the 56 story and the 78 story. Your main character is this smart, very intelligent doctor, well trusted in the community. In 78, you got Donald Sutherland, this wacky goofball dipshit of a character that nobody seems to take seriously. Yeah, it just has such an effective build-up, the 56 version does. And it never veers into parody or goofiness. In fact, one of my favorite moments is when Kevin McCarthy is talking on the phone, and I don't think he ever told them that he was, you know, this doctor and everything. But the thing that sets me off in my head was that they kept saying, he would be like, try to patch me through to Washington, D.C. I need to talk to somebody there. And then you hear the person on the other line, I'm sorry, doctor. I can't seem to get anybody through there. Whereas in the 78 version, they go this goofy, and he has this look on his face, Kevin McCarthy does, where he almost realizes it, that something is wrong. It's about, you know, this person has already been taken over or whatever. And, you know, but the Donald Sutherland variation on that same scene where, you know, he's talking on the phone and they try to do the same thing, but they go overboard with it. Everything is unnecessarily weird or goofy in the elements of the 78 version.
Wait right there, Mr. Bennell.
How do you know my name?
Hang up, Matthew.
I didn't tell you my name.
Hang up.
I didn't tell him my name.
And he freaks out, and it's just like, what? This is goofy. This is goofy. So I'm going to give the story easily to the 56 version, just because it takes itself a lot more serious, and it does a better job telling the story, I think, than the 78 version. The 78 version was just too off the wall and too goofy the way it was written. All right, so let's move on to direction. The 56 version was directed by Don Siegel. The 78 version was directed by Philip Kaufman. Now, as I've said, the script for the 56 version is written very serious, and Don Siegel directs this thing very tense. And moments where you have any kind of cool tension, it works. It works. And the way he shoots the reveal of the pod people coming out of the pods and everything, and the effects even that Don Siegel had access to and used for these sequences, was pretty damn good. You'd think by 78 you'd have even better effects and you'd be able to pull off something better than that. But in Philip Kaufman's version, it's on par with the 56 version, possibly, you know. I don't think the effects have improved. I don't think they're better. In fact, I think they're more effective in the 56 version just because it's creepier, because it's played more dramatically. Whereas Philip Kaufman makes it a goofy ordeal with weird imagery, weird stuff going on, and weird performances by, you know, Donald Sutherland, Jeff Goldblum, and everything. And it's just, it didn't need to be done that way. I don't know if in 78, when people went to the theaters and saw Philip Kaufman's version, if that kind of stuff was scary to them or what. But the biggest travesty that the 78 version adds that was nowhere near in the 56 version is making the aliens walking around pointing and squealing like a fucking pig. It's ridiculous and it's fucking stupid. So, yeah, all right. You already know where I'm going with this one. I'm giving this one to the 56 version. So, if you're keeping track, that's 3 points for the 56 version, and that's 1 point for the 78 version. So, again, the original wins. But what do you guys think of the Invasion of the Body Snatchers movies? Do you agree with my comparison that the 56 version was better, or do you think that the 78 version was the best? Let me know in those comments down below. And as usual, if you enjoyed this video, do not forget to like, share, and subscribe, And don't forget to click that bell icon so you can be notified about future videos. And while you're by the subscribe button, click that join button and become a Dark Knight fan. All right. Hope you've enjoyed this Versus Night, and I hope you will join me tomorrow for another horror movie night. Thanks for watching.